Hello, welcome back to Lean Into Your Light. I am Kimberly K. French, one of your hosts, and I'm here with,
Lori Urbaniak, your other host. Welcome back, everybody.
welcome back. It's been quite a week. Lori and I were just talking about how the week has been a little ups and downs and a little all over the place. And
Yes,
that's just life. But we still have to move through it in the best that we can.
right.
So,
A lot of new experiences that sometimes can
mhm,
be scary. Yes,
right?
but that
Lots of
doesn't
new
mean
experiences.
yes.
And just makes me think of how all the unknown. I think last time I talked about my book signing event, and
Hmm.
my whole talk is based on, do you know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, the next 10 minutes? And most people saying no, and I'm like, I could make you cry, which I most likely will because of my stories made me cry, and I did make people cry. Or I could make you livid and just say something that's going to offend you. You're going to storm out and you're going to turn off this video.
Hmm.
Most likely not, because that's not who I am.
Right.
Or somebody could call in the next 5 minutes, a loved one, and tell you that they won the lottery and they want to share it with you.
Yeah.
Stranger things happen, right? But in the end
Yeah.
of the day, we don't know. And so the best we can do is have tools at our disposal to help
Yes.
us get through each and every day and welcome the unknown. Because I'm in that space of life where I'm like, I could look back at all my fears and like, wow, why was I afraid of that? At the end, it was like a nothing. Nothing
Hmm.
happened from it that was of any significance. So having those tools to face the unknown has been a lifesaver for me.
Right.
And I think people, with all the things happening with wars and AI and politics, and there's so many unknowns at any given time, but they're all in our face right now because of the media, right? The
Hmm.
media is
Hmm.
bombarding us with stuff. And I don't necessarily buy into the media anymore. I kind of disengage from it and just like look at the
Yeah.
headlines to make sure that there's nothing that I need to know about. Or I use it as where I need to like focus love and energy and send love and energy to people who need it,
Yeah.
both, you know,
Exactly.
on both sides. So,
Yeah.
what are your
Agreed.
thoughts on the unknown? Yeah, breathe, right?
The unknown. Yeah. Well, I think when our brains work when there's an unknown or we're triggered or something like that, we jump to a story to tell ourselves,
Mm,
to make sense of it, to get us through that, to understand it. But those stories are not always true. There's something that our fear-based
true.
ego mind decides to toss our way, and we just go, "Oh yeah, that's got to be it. I know that's it." And it catastrophizes, it overthinks, it keeps us small, keeps us not light,
Mm,
keeps us pulled back. Instead of leaning into your light and going, yeah, I don't know what the hell this is, but let's figure it out. Okay. This came to me so I can understand it, not hide from it. But we
yeah.
tell those stories, so re narrating stories that we tell. And
Hmm.
I was talking to a client yesterday, and he says, I tell myself I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I didn't do it. I haven't done enough.
It's
That's what
so
it is.
common.
And I
Yeah.
said, what haven't you done? Well, I don't know. Well, okay, wait a minute. So you have an advanced degree in college. You're happily married. You bought a house in a very expensive place to live. You have, like I'm naming all this stuff. So what isn't enough about that? Nothing. Okay, then why are you telling yourself that? But that's that
Hmm.
thing that it's hooked into our brains from God knows where.
Yeah.
And we hold on to that. We don't challenge those stories. So I think it's important to gotta acknowledge I'm afraid about this, but I don't know why. But I'm not going to make up a
Mm,
story to have it make sense. Maybe it's just the unknown. AI, great example. We're all
hmm.
freaking out about it's taking our jobs, and there's not going to be any more creative anything anywhere because it'll all be through there. Even as a therapist, they're like, yeah, well, you're not going to have a job because people are going to jump
Mm.
on and get therapy from an AI. And I'm like, okay, I'll pivot
Are they?
if that
Is everybody going to do
happens.
that though?
I hope not.
Some people
I wouldn't.
might.
Of course.
Just a lot of people aren't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can
It's
almost
just
do
having
that
another
now.
competitor.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
But you can almost do that now. I guarantee if I typed into ChatGPT, I'm feeling depressed right now. What should I do? Oh, it would have a lot of
Yeah.
tips and tools and techniques to use. But I still like to
Yeah.
believe that our human interaction will push through that, and people want that
Yeah.
um, still at some point.
Yeah. I'm
So I'm
becoming
glad.
of the mindset I'm welcoming AI and all that it's going to do and all the jobs it's going to eliminate, because a lot of the jobs, and not therapy and some of the creative pursuits, I think there's still humans are going to create. That's what we who we are. We are
Hmm.
creators. And I think for a lot of people though, whose jobs are going to be replaced by, AI in like the mundane, like stuff that doesn't take much thinking. It's just routines
Hmm.
that anything could do. Kind of like machines when they
Hmm.
like replaced workers in a factory.
Right. Hmm.
They went and found other pursuits that were more creative than putting a widget on a car or putting a something in a can.
Yes.
Machines started to do that, so they went and found something that they liked better, hopefully. But I think, it's just like a wake up call for some people who have been in mundane jobs or even jobs that aren't very satisfying that's going to be replaced by AI, to go and find the creator within themselves. Because to your point, we're still going to
Mm,
interact with one another. Our souls yearn
yes.
to be in communion with one
Connection.
another. And
Hmm.
they're not going to, AI is not going to replace that.
True.
I
It
hope
can't.
not.
Well, how
Not in
could
our
it?
lifetimes, anyway.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. That's such a good way to look at it because um, we do need to connect, but it also helps people to move out of their comfort zones, kind of like you're saying,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
My family, it's a generational thing. We go work here, we do this, we do this. Well, it's not there anymore. So how are you going to
Yep.
get out of your comfort zone and maybe search a little deeper about who you are and what makes you happy and who you want to be instead of what you're supposed to or what is sitting that right there in front of me. I have a job and I guess I should go because pays good, but I
Got to pay
don't.
the rent.
Yeah. Instead,
Yeah.
what do? Your job's gone, and so maybe that spurs something that I've always wanted to try. And you go to a
Hmm.
job for the rest of your life that you love, that you enjoy, that you get fill your passion cup up, and you light up the
Yeah.
world in that way instead of this kind of dark and mundane, like you were saying, like, what is that old commercial from way back when? Time to make the donuts. What was
I
it,
was just
that
thinking of
one?
that. Time to make the donuts, the donuts,
And
the
you just go,
donuts.
right? No, we don't have
Yeah.
to be that
Half
little
asleep,
minion.
half asleep, walking through life making donuts because it's like 2 a.m. and somebody wants a donut at 5 a.m. and you've got to make the donut, even though you
No,
hate
you
it.
don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
And I think, when you say that, I think to myself, how many people do I know that say I love my job?
Hmm.
I really, I don't know very many people that say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know many people that say, "Oh, I love my job. I love working." Do
That's a good question, and that's where I love to work with people. So the people I work with typically are hating their work, and
Mhm.
then I help them find their core genius. And so, fortunately, I do have some people that I've kind of helped find. Like, I love to wake up every morning and do this. But before,
Oh,
they were hating life, thinking they had to do the treadmill and they had to work really hard and they had to like work, 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 and have all these meetings and talk to all these people, and they're just so frantic. And then as soon as they like, no, wait a minute, I really want to do this over here, and this stuff makes me miserable. Let's focus on what
yes.
brings me joy and what my soul came here to do. And they're like, breath of fresh air.
Oh
And I think
gosh. I feel a
that's
breath of fresh air just you saying that that's what you do with people. I'm like, oh, that's so important. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm gonna be going out more in the world with that because I've been doing it in the background and like, oh no, I
Oh,
think a lot of people need this.
so
I think
important. So
yeah.
tell me more about, you said a phrase, core genius. What is that? Tell me more about that.
I love talking to people about their core genius because it
I
is when you excite somebody and you know that they found their core genius is when they, like right
oh,
now, I know I'm in my core genius because I'm like, oh, let me tell you more. Let me tell you more because this is
I
really
want to
exciting to
hear
me.
it. Yes.
I really feel like we are here, we're creators. We're created by the creator and in her image, and we are born to be creators. And so
Mm.
within each of us, there's like a homing beacon about what our soul came here to do,
Ooh,
what we
yummy.
are called to do. It's yummy,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And when we get in touch and align with our soul's calling, or what our soul is here to do, and it's sometimes it's not very concrete. It doesn't always a profession. But
Mm.
sometimes in your earlier years when your subconscious is being formed, like we were just talking about, those fears and patterns are formed back there. But
Mm-hmm.
also we're getting clues to what we really love to do in the world. Maybe, to write. You love to write. And I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of writers who I've always felt that they're calling my daughter. She feels like she is going to be a writer from a
Yeah.
very young age. I always wanted to like be a doctor. I didn't like the
Mm.
sciences though, so I have to look at that clue. Like, well, I really like to help people heal, and so I love to talk to people about going from hating their job, hating their life, to finding what that inner guidance is telling them inside. I love talking to my inner guidance. It has like been like a lifesaver for me many times. And when we listen to those little
Love
things,
it.
they don't make sense sometimes, but it will guide us to the joy every single time. And I think that's where
Yes.
AI coming in and swooping up these things that people hate to do anyway,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
forces us to sit back and say, oh, well, what do I really want to do with my life now? I'm hoping that will wake up some people to do that versus
Yes.
I'm afraid. What's the next job I can do? I'm going to go be a Starbucks barista, or I'm going to be, whatever it is, and get out of the frantic. Because when you get out of the frantic, then you can take a breath and really, live into your core genius.
Yes. I love that. It to me that is almost like your divine truth too. Your
Mm-hmm.
divine truth
Yep.
sits there. And I've talked
Yeah.
to people too, and it's certainly different contexts, but who don't like their job and want to leave corporate, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I have but I've seen also that when you know, they kind of ignore those push you out of that job signs, and they end up getting
Mm-hmm.
fired, laid off, the job ends, whatever, and
Yep.
they're like, okay, so thank you, universe, for making it
Mm-hmm.
stop since I couldn't. But then they do tap into that core genius, divine truth, and they think it might be a job. Let's say being a barista.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I can't do that. I can't tell people I'm a barista. I have a master's degree, or I'm not going to make the money.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? They become so happy that their friends don't give a crap about their degree. They're like, wow, you're so happy now. And they light up
Tell
the
me what you
world
did.
then. Huh?
Yeah. Tell me what you
They
did, because then people want to
right,
know.
right. Well, then that spreads. They're like, well, if she can quit and somehow maybe your financial needs get met because you are in alignment, right? When you're like just pushing away and doing this, I mean, yeah, you might have more money, but when you are
Mm-hmm.
at a barista level, I'm just using that. I don't mean any disrespect to baristas because
Yeah.
that's a hard job.
No.
But when you're in alignment like that, somehow doors open. And,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you end up getting a dog as a a job as a pet sitter, and you get a little extra income here,
Mm-hmm.
and you love dogs. Or like things start to flow to you that
Yeah.
make it all worthwhile. So when you're
Yeah.
in that divine flow, core genius moment in your life, and you know what makes you light up, those things come to you because you're open to
Yeah.
receive them.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And I'm
So,
finding a lot of people, even in corporate, that are frustrated. They just need a little tweak
mhm.
and a shift in perspective of why they've chosen this job in the first place. Because usually they've chosen this path, not just for
Yes.
the money, but there's something else that is feeding inside of them.
Yeah.
And they just need to do a little tweak of their shift of why they're doing it. And they could be very happy there too. Like corporate's not the end all. Like everyone has to leave corporate because I
Right,
like my
right.
cell phone. I like my computers. I like, all the things that corporate
Mhm.
offers. And there are people who love to be there. I think if there's some tweaks, there's some potential for more happy people in corporate. And that's becoming my mission, is to go and find those tweaks for people.
So, what's an example? Can you think of one that would be a tweak for someone in corporate? What would be one
Yeah.
thing maybe you could think of that maybe you've worked with someone that has really
Yeah.
changed their
So
life?
let's take. I'm gonna take an entrepreneur. Then I'll give you two examples. The first one is an entrepreneur that I've been working with, and he's always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but he also does all the hats and does all the things, and he stresses himself out, and he's like running frantic a lot of the time, and then it doesn't feel very satisfied because like, why am I doing this, right? Because
Mm,
it takes so much of my energy. Um, and he's got certain patterns that I love patterns because it tells you exactly when people are stuck, where to
mm,
focus. When people are stuck in a
mm-hmm.
pattern, that's the thing to focus on.
There you go.
And so when
Yes.
we look at that pattern for him, he always hires people who need a job. He sees the best in them. He sees like, oh, that person needs a job. Um, I see that they could do the job that I want. And so he goes and he like embraces them and like brings them in and works with them. But then he holds on to them too long if they don't like perform.
Form.
And so,
Mm,
yeah, if they don't perform and it doesn't a really good fit for him or for his company. So the thing that we've discovered for him recently is he has got, and a lot of these things are born in the first 7 years of your life.
yeah.
Like his whole mission for having a company was to help his family in the country where his mom was from in South America, and to help those his cousins and other family members with jobs. But he's built a company that doesn't relate. That's not within reach of his family. So he helps other people more local.
Uh,
But when
okay.
we really looked at it, and he wants to develop opportunities for people. He wants to develop people who wouldn't otherwise have a chance. And so
Hmm.
when we reframe that for him, he's like, oh, and we've got to get the right people in the right seats so that they can succeed. Otherwise, they just end up feeling like a failure if it's not a right fit for them. And that doesn't
Mm,
help them. So he just that one little tweak of what his subconscious was trying to do and the pattern he had created,
yes.
and to then focus on when you hire somebody, now just make sure first they want to do it, it's within their
Mm-hmm.
core genius, and that they're going to add value to the company. And so just that little tweak, and he's like taking
Wow.
off.
Wow.
That's where I see
That's great.
this piece. Yeah,
So it's really just talking out loud to
yeah,
someone who understands the process and wants to help you reframe the way it's not totally change the way you're thinking, but reframe the way,
yeah.
your label, question it and make it.
I I really believe we all, our souls know what they're doing already. Like our bodies know, everything is all set up for success,
Mm-hmm.
and it's our fears and our ego that gets in the way, right? And
Yeah.
I won't say even ego. Let's say our fears. And because we are often approach new things from fear, and we get in these patterns trying to break the pattern, you know, trying to break the pattern with force, I've never seen it work all that well. I mean, willpower, like in a diet, it just doesn't work very well. But if you were to take a look back and say why this was created in the first place, and what I'm finding, and I'd like to find some research on this, and that's going to be my goal. I know it's out there. The first 7 years, right? The Jesuit said, "You give me the first 7 years of a child's life, and I'll tell you what the rest of life. I'll give you
Yeah.
the prognosis for the rest of his life, because first 7 years are really impactful." And I'm starting to see a pattern that whatever the problems of our parents at those 7 years, that we're trying
Mm.
to, as souls, try to solve whatever problem our parent is going through. So
Oh.
my dad, when I was born, he had a failed business, and they were going through bankruptcy.
Okay.
And so it's no wonder I am trying to help business owners. But I had this awareness of like, oh, that's why I help men in their 30s, because my dad was in his 30s when I was born, 38 exactly. And I can't tell you how many 38-year-old men that I have attracted
That's
into my
so
business.
amazing.
And when I realized that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to fight this anymore. I'm going to see how I can be of service, because that's the
Yes.
problem my dad was going through. And that's the problem that I subconsciously picked up to try to solve. And the same thing for that entrepreneur I was just talking about. His his parents all often talked about their relatives back in the country in South America and how to help them. Right. So it was in a
Mm,
pattern of, how do I
I
help
think you
people? How
heard
do I
that.
help people who don't have an opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've got so many other examples of people I've worked with that's the case. I take them back to the first 7 years. It's like, what was happening? And your subconscious is trying to solve it now in your work, in your day-to-day life, in your
Huh.
relationships, and accept it. I know you're a therapist. Maybe I'm totally off. I have no
No,
basis for this, but
I
I'm
love this. I'm like going in my head going, what was going on when I was 7? What was happening with my
yeah,
parents? Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
No,
that's
fascinating
kind of
stuff.
where I'm coming from right now.
I love that though. It's our ancestral wounds carry with
Mm-hmm.
us into now too. I
For
just did a
sure.
clearing. Michael Sandler had a clearing, an ancestral clearing last week.
I saw
And
that. Was it good?
oh, yeah, it kicked the crap out of me. Seriously.
Awesome.
It was
I'll
in
go
a
back
good
and take a look at the
way,
recording.
in a good
Yeah.
way. Kicked the crap out of me. I loved it though. It was good. And it's a long process because he went into
Mm.
like, he had different layers of, I hear the kitty cat.
Yeah.
I want to get a cat.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the ancestral part of it, we carry that with us too, not even just our parents, but the ancestral
Yeah.
dynamic too that is present with us now. So sometimes, you just go, why is this so hard? But
Mm-hmm.
if you come to this earth school, it ain't to have a leisurely, luxurious life. I mean, you can, but there's some work that needs to be put in to be here, and that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing.
Mm.
It's just like sometimes I need a break. Like put the pause button. I talk to my clients a lot about leveling up, and they get to a
Mm-hmm.
new level, but there's in infitude in whatever. There's a lot. The levels never stop coming. But to
Yeah.
sit at that new one and just enjoy the view and just be like, all right, this is
Mm-hmm.
what this feels like now. Okay, well, I got a kick in the butt. Now I got to get up to the next one. And how do I do that?
Yeah.
What is presenting itself that I need to understand better to get to the next one,
Yeah.
and then next, and then next, and then next. Um, but to embrace that and not, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, ignore it, because you're just still going to have the work in front of you. It doesn't go away if
Yeah.
you ignore it.
It's always there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
Mm-hmm.
skip too fast.
No,
Yeah.
can't skip too fast. Well, I love that
Yeah.
work that you're doing. I think people are really lucky to be able to, um, openly talk about these things. I don't think that was really necessarily available. People weren't really
Mm-mm.
thinking in that level before. It was that old, like those old like movies from the 80s where there's just so much business and wheeling and dealing, and that was it. You just work, 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 work. And now we're kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, you can, but let's find
Yeah.
some
Is that what you really want?
balance. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Balance, balance, balance. And that is all
Mm-hmm.
about getting to know yourself better too, not being surface
Mm-hmm.
level. It's diving
Yeah.
deep. And people are, scared, don't know how, afraid of
Mm-hmm.
finding seeing what they find down there. So for people to have a safe place to talk to you about that is really
Mm.
important.
Yeah. It's like a sacred place.
It is
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah, I
I don't know if
do.
I mentioned last time, but I'm toying with the name Soul Driven for my next book. Soul Driven CEO, Soul Driven Company.
I love
And I kind
that.
of like it.
I do too. I kind of like that a
Yeah.
lot. And
Yeah.
you say that there are no accidents. I've had some new
Mm.
clients in the last couple of weeks that are
Mm-hmm.
not all. Yeah, well, most of the new ones are. um, moms
Mhm.
who, and I've had this idea for a couple of years, moms who are struggling, moms of newborns, moms of kids leaving the nest, leaving the house,
Mm.
of how
Mhm.
those stages of leaving yourself behind come up and grab us. And
Mm.
um, it's just, I have this whole idea of this book. It's a workbook on finding
Mhm.
yourself and not losing yourself. First of all, not losing yourself with the younger kids to keep you current with yourself instead of putting yourself
Mhm.
on a shelf for 25 years. But then if
Yeah.
that's happened, how to take the lid off of that box and see who's in there. I've had that
Mm.
idea for 3 years now. So I think
Oh,
maybe
I
there's
love that.
just so bing, 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 bing. I got to figure something out. But I'll
Inner
get there.
guidance. It'll steer you
Yeah.
there every time.
Well, then why did I get all these moms that are struggling with who they are and what do they do now? And what does it look like to be a mom at all these
Yeah.
stages?
Mhm.
So
Well,
same
you've
with
been through all
work.
the stages.
You're right. I have, yes. And not that I know everything, but I know the feelings that they have. And same with your
Mhm.
business folks. They didn't
Mhm.
start out, I mean, they
Mhm.
all have climbed up the ladder. And so how do they continue to know themselves and dig deep and understand their passions as they climb up that ladder? I think that's just so
Mm.
important because
Yeah.
maybe then they enjoy their jobs and not view it as, sometimes you say corporate and it's a dirty word, you know.
Right?
You're not supposed to like corporate jobs. Those are for the
Yeah.
out of touch, cold type A personalities. They're not for kind, loving, divinely guided people. Yeah, they are.
They
Yeah.
are. There's a lot of kind, divinely guided people there,
Mhm.
right? We
Yeah.
just don't always see them on the media. Kind of like
Yes.
the news. There's all goodness everywhere happening. They just don't show
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we're here to help people remember
That's
that
right.
that
That's
life
right.
is life, and it's just a matter of perspective, and that there's good in everything, even the scary
Yeah.
that we call scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
Mhm.
maybe next time we
Mhm.
talk about the tools, because I know you and I both have tools for
Oh
the
yeah.
unknown. I think the one we talked about today is really tapping into your inner guidance.
Mhm.
And yeah, what you called
Yes.
I called core genius, you're the divine truth. I
Truth.
like that name too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But right. That's my other thing too. Is those terms get used a lot, just do this, just do that. What
Hmm.
does that mean? Let's drill down a little bit and say, because
Hmm.
people go, oh, yeah, you're right. Let's just get into the divine truth. Okay, okay. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
How do you do
Yeah.
that? There's so many layers to explore. Once you get there, how do you hear? How do you act? How do you do,
Hmm.
like it could just keep going down, down, down. Same with yours.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that. Tools. Tune back in
Tools.
for tools to connect into
Yep.
your light and your passion and purpose.
And embrace the unknown.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Instead of, we got to throw Elvis in there. We were
Oh
talking
yeah.
beforehand about how, generations have scary unknown things. And this poor guy from Mississippi has this immense talent, throws himself out there, being vulnerable, and dances like no one's ever seen in the most provocative way. And they want to lynch him and throw him in jail for dancing.
Yeah. Seems
Well,
ridiculous today. But that was a
it
true fear back then. A true fear.
a true fear. So, right, look where we've come. I mean, now we have computers
Yeah.
telling us how the universe works when this poor guy
Mm.
couldn't even wiggle his hips a little lot, and
Yeah.
make people feel funny, right? I don't think
Hmm.
that
Oh
was
my
a
gosh.
feeling people understood to watch
Yeah.
him. Even, I mean, the movie, yes, that guy did a fantastic job, but if you watch the real Elvis, it made me want to go watch real Elvis movies because I hadn't ever really watched real Elvis movies. And I'm like, boy, did he have
Hmm.
some charisma. I mean, even now,
Yeah.
you look at it from, like you said, the 60s, 60 years ago, and you're like, oh, he was kind of something. All these years
Hmm.
later, it still translates. Um,
Yeah.
so, gosh, he had a hard life. That would be a big Big burden. Can you imagine 60 years ago? Who did he have to talk to about this or even understand it himself? The power and the
right? He just
charisma
had to
that
move
he had.
forward and with, yeah, just move forward with courage. And that's what he did with confidence. It's like, this is who I am, right? And
Yeah.
he was lighting the path. But I
Wow.
think what you're also touching on is that fear that people had
Mm-hmm.
of those feelings, right? Those
Yes.
fears were unknown at the time because, like, what is it going to do to the women in the group who are feeling all these things, or men too? Who
Yeah,
knows, right?
I'm sure there were men
And
watching that too.
I- I'm sure jealousy popped up. I'm
Yes.
sure, judgment, all of the things around somebody gyrating their hips on stage, and how
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous it seems to us now.
Yes.
And it's my hope that AI is the same thing. 60 years from now, they're going to be like, oh, how funny those people were for being so afraid of AI.
Right. Well, you and I
Yeah.
come from a generation of no emails, no cell phones, no computers, no
Hmm.
internet, any of that, and how that at first was like an what? What are you talking about? Like, we didn't know what that
Hmm.
was. And it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
You watch movies or TV shows from like when it was first coming out and there weren't words to talk about it. There weren't,
No. And people
we're
were
going to go
afraid.
on the internet or we're going to go on the World Wide Web, you
Yeah, the
know.
World Wide Web, AOL, and those
Yeah,
uh, buzzing sounds when it
yes,
was
from
connecting
the,
over the landline.
yeah,
Can't even
yes.
make that.
So same thing. I think, in 20 years, maybe not even 20 years, who knows what AI will look like and how we're going to be using it all the time. Everybody,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. In a good way.
It's kind of exciting.
Positive. It is exciting. Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, tools next week. Tools. Make a
Tools.
bookmark.
We'll bring out our
Yes.
tool belts. Give some examples too.
Yes.
So I think
I love
examples are
that.
very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I'm excited to talk
Yep.
about that.
Yeah. Well, until
Yeah.
next time, it was great seeing you, Lori. Great,
Yes.
everyone who is tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be
Yes.
back.
Okay. Have a good week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.